everyone, Awesome Players here, and today I'll be reviewing some Roblox Train simulators. So to start off with, we have Train Simulator Beta, which is basically the most boring train simulator in the history of train simulators in Roblox. Actually, you probably know, because there's probably even more boring ones. But anyways, it's a very boring train simulator, where you have to drive a monorail around a really boring map. Well, kind of boring. I guess I mean unrealistic, because it has like snow and stuff, but the weather is just terrible. Like, you go through a tunnel and bam, the weather's changed and the time's changed and the area's changed. Like, you could end up in like the North Pole and the next second you're in like London or something. But yeah, it's just a really bad game. And for starters, you can only have 10 trains at a time. Like, how boring is that? Like, the server limit is way more than 10. So that's like more than 10 people being bored to death. So this is the only time I've ever actually been able to play the game, like being able to drive a train. And the sound effects are really boring. Like, it's a car horn, not a train horn on this thing. The doors will animate, which is alright. That's quite good, I guess. The trains actually work. They don't derail, I don't think. You can drive through each other as well, which is a bit unrealistic, and there's no signalling. I guess the map's alright compared to just a piece of grass, but still though, the time zone and weather is unrealistic. And so I'm going to give that a score like 2 out of 10. And the next one we'll be going on to is CBR3, which stands for Cool Beans Railway 3. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what Cool Beans is, it's basically a Roblox version of Thomas the Tank Engine, and there are thousands of Cool Beans games out there. Like 50% of train simulators are Cool Beans themed. So I think I'll just review this one, like, to do the Cool Beans area as a whole. So, like, pretty much the majority of them are really bad, but this one was actually better than I thought it would be. Like, for example, the trains actually work, and the map is quite, like, truthful to, like, the original series. Like, you could recognize it. Like, for instance, I remember a lot of these stations from watching Thomas when I was younger. The trains, I guess, look a bit like the characters, and they have loads of characters on there. Although the cabs are not very detailed, and the carriages you can't even go in, and they're very boring inside. It's just a box with nothing in it. But the map's alright. It's quite good. The trains are good. You can change the faces, which is a benefit as well. The acceleration's like alright. It uses the Somewhere Wales driving GUI, and it's quite good, but the acceleration's bad, and the turntable can sometimes glitch out, and only half of the trains actually work. Like, half of them just sit there, and the only thing you can do is change the music. Also, they have no whistles. Like, like if you press H, it will just turn on Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and there is no whistles. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a 5 out of 10. Like, it's worth visiting if you're a Thomas fan, but it doesn't really work some of the trains. So that's that one. Moving along, we have Trains. Trains is basically like the OG of train simulators on Roblox. So yeah, it's alright, I guess. It's like not the best, and it's definitely not up to standard with some of the train simulators you see these days. Although the acceleration's good, the GUI's pretty user-friendly. The horn sounds quite good, definitely. So you have a proper two-tone horn, which is quite rare on Roblox games. So yeah, that's good. The cab's not detailed at all. The interior, at least you can go inside the interior, and it actually has seats in it, but it's not the best interior in the world. Although, having this been the devs' first like proper train simulator, it's alright. So I guess I'll rank it a 6 out of 10. It's enjoyable, but only for a short amount of time, as the map is quite boring once you've gone around once or twice. But the stations are quite detailed though, in like quite a basic way. It's quite Robloxy, I'll say that. And it's pretty much lag free. So that's a benefit of the game. So moving on to the next one, we have a very British layout. Now, a very British layout is also a very boring layout. It's alright. The models look quite good, I guess. It's made by a developer who's gone on to do bigger things to do with steam trains. He's quite well known. You've probably heard of him before, Synchronous or whatever. But yeah, he made this game. I think it's probably one of his first games. It's got quite a few references to one of his other games, which is Steam Age, such as the name of this station here, Shufflington, and the other station, I'm not sure what it was, but I definitely know that it was a Steam Age name. It uses pretty much the same models, but it only has like a few trains, and only like some of them work. I mean, like the ones which you can control work, but one of them is just way too fast and quite glitchy. And yeah, there's not really that much to do in it, really. Like, once you've gotten around the map, you get bored. And there is another way, like, there's a longer track as well, but there's no way of coming back if you're doing a passenger train down there, and it's very weird, the scenery down that way, so it's probably not worth doing it. And you can change the weather, I guess, which is a benefit, but you either have stormy or sunny, so it's very basic, and this bit here is very boring. Like, the only scenery down the main bit is like the sheds, the sidings, the trees, the river, the viaduct, the station, and that's it. So I guess I'm gonna rate it 6 out of 10. It's quite good, I guess, but it's not the best. Actually, no, I'm gonna rate it 5 out of 10. But yeah, it's a very scale game. It's alright. Moving on, we have the next game. The next game is Steam Age. Now, Steam Age is also made by the same guy, and it's quite good. The trains are like half paper, half party. And yeah, they look quite good. They look quite lifelike. The 101 definitely looks like the real thing, which is quite boxy. And it's a very nice map, very large. I haven't even explored all of it, and I've played this game several times. Although there are some bits where the scenery can get quite boring, but the majority of the time it's very nice scenery. There's this huge town which looks very pretty, and you've got loads of trams and buses which you can also drive. Large variety of steam trains, and you've even got some cool game passes as well, so... but the Game Pass GUI is quite broken, but it usually works if you just go in and out again. And yeah, that's kind of that game. It's good. It's definitely worth a visit. I'm gonna rate it 8 out of 10 because it's got paper trains, no interior to the trains. I have a thing about interior and trains, by the way. And yeah, it's just a good game. So the next game we have is Island Line or the Isle of Wight Railway. I'm not really sure, but it's either of those, and it's very nice. It looks very lifelike, like to the real thing, like all the stations, like just like the real island. Like the Isle of Wight. I mean, I've never been to the Isle of Wight, but I've seen photos and it looks just like the stations, like just like these. I mean, the trains are pretty good. They look reasonably like their real life trains. Like the interior is nice. It matches the real life trains, and it's got a nice variety, like a small variety, but it's alright. You've got the steam trains have definitely got quite a few steam trains, but not all, like not tons of steam trains. And the Heritage Railway, like the scenery starts to drop, especially at this last station where you can actually see the abyss, which is a bit weird, but that's kind of that game. So moving on, we'll do our last one, then I'll break off and do part 2 at some point. So this is Stanmore London Underground Legacy, although it's not really Legacy because there is no new one. It's a good one. It's like kind of set between Stanmore and this random station where I forgot what the name is, but the models are alright. I think it's a free drive, I'm not sure. it's quite confusing because you can apply to be like in a higher rank, but it's also free drive at the same time. So it's quite confusing, but oh well, it's a good game. It's worth visiting. The map's quite boring because once you've driven down the line, you've kind of driven down the line. Although, you know, you can drive down it a few times, but it's not the best for like, if you're going to do like an hour of it, you probably get bored. And there's also a limit on how many trains you can do, which is a bit annoying, but otherwise you get like the line flooded. And it looks quite good. They've bothered to put the third rail the entire way, so that's cool. Rather than just only electrifying some parts. It's got a very nice driver's GUI. The acceleration's kind of realistic, I guess. The chassis are very unrealistic, but the trains themselves are pretty realistic. The stations are quite good. I've never been down this line before, so I don't really know what the stations look like in real life, but that's even if they exist in real life. But it looks good. And there is some like in-betweeny sceneries, such as a tunnel at some point, which is pretty boring. But other than that, that's kind of all I have to say about that game. And I think I'll rate it maybe 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable, but after a while you get bored. So it's a good game. I'd recommend playing it. And yeah, so I think that we'll have to do for this episode because we've kind of gone like quite far. So we'll do a part 2 at some point, and possibly a part 3 depending on how long it takes. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in part 2. Goodbye. Happy Christmas.